born again shell. So it's a shell which is kind of an interface that helps humans interact with computers and translate what we want to get done and the output that comes back out. And everything is done in command line. So what I'm using right now on the Mac is iTerm2. And I think for Windows, people use MoveXterm or Git Bash, yeah. So does everyone have a terminal up and running? Okay, awesome.
Can you make the text size a little bit bigger?
Sure.
And Command plus will also do it.
Okay, is that better? Okay. So you can use other ones. Some of them have their own like twerks about how the shortcuts happen. I know when I'm on my Windows, like Control C, Control C, Control V will not work for me, depending on the interpreter. But this is what we're going to use. So it's kind of like a conversation between your computers. So you can type, "Who am I?" and it'll give you back your name. So you can ask it to do things for you, or you can get results back. The other thing that command line can be used for, so like I use a lot of R, you can get, if you just do R and enter, it will boot up R or like enter you into the R environment. Or you can do other things like on a Windows, you would write Notepad. On Mac, I think it's open dot, and then it will open up your file viewer. So it can interact with your computer itself. It's not really like a standalone thing. That's happening over here. So the file management of Bash is a little bit different. You're probably used to working with like folders and subfolders, and in Bash, we're talking about directories and moving between them. So first of all, print working directory, PWD is print working directory. And if you just opened up your terminal, this is kind of your home base of where you will start off every time. Generally just your documents. And you can see the file path here. Starting with this slash over here means you're going back to the base, right? So from here, I can move to like CD is to change directories. I can move to my documents folder like this, and you notice that there's no slash at the beginning here. Whereas if you wanted, and this is what we call a relative path, and if you wanted like an absolute path, you could start from the back and your users. Also, tab complete is amazing. I hate typos, but they litter everything. So you can do that. And also when I'm here, you can tab and it'll give you the options. If you just forget where your folders are organized, you can start typing it and it'll give you what it can finish with. So you can do documents. You can do stuff like that. So I'm just gonna move into U of decoders just so that I have everything organized. So now that I have changed my working directory here, I can print it again. And now you can tell that I'm no longer just in the home directory. I have moved into this folder. I can list. LS is for list. I can list everything in there. There is quite a bit. Depending on your interpreter, I do like the ones that actually have different colors for the command, where you can more easily tell. So sometimes when I have something that's complicated, I'll just break a few times. And if you press up, it'll bring you back through the history of what you have. So now if I do list, it's easier for me to tell what is the output for that. But what we're gonna do, so to continue with lists, it just dumps everything that's within that directory, right? But we have things called flags that can modify the command to help kind of fine tune what we want. So for example, if I wanna list things in chronological order, I can list things, flag, by time. And it'll tell me the thing that I modified most recently is this intro bash folder. If I wanted to list a little bit more, I can list in the long form, and it'll give me a lot more information. And here it's telling me about like the permissions, who used it, and like file size, time that it's been touched. So this is really critical information, especially like when I'm working with the servers and they clear the files every 2 months. This is how I can tell when was the last time I've touched the file, then that I need to actually like move it or it's gonna get deleted. And as always, there is a help, so you can do list help. And some of them don't recognize that, but you can do man. So man for manual. Oh, whoops. Okay, that was a different command, but it still has its own manual where you can go like up and down in it. Sorry, my color coding is off because I changed the themes to make it white, but you can tell, it will tell you what the different flags are. So be careful because everything is case sensitive, where you have a capital F flagging something different than a lowercase f. But this will give you an indication of the different things you can change with each of the functions. And once you want to quit, you can up and down with the arrows in here and Q for quit, and it'll return you back to base here. Does that make sense? Okay. So the other useful thing that I use with ls sometimes is that you can tell that there's a lot of different documents here, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, there was that PDF I made last week. So I can do list star.pdf. So the star grabs everything that will end with .pdf. So, okay, I only have one. That is an excitedly named document one. But let's see, if I do CSV, then there's more CSVs here. And that's an easier way. For example, sometimes I'm just looking for all my R scripts. This is easier than kind of like flipping through each of them. You can also put random character. You can also look for characters using this document. If I couldn't remember which one I named it, .text. Oops, isn't it? Oh, wait. Isn't it one wildcard?
Try to.
This?
Yeah.
Interesting. But there's a lot of different variables that you can use with just flagging one character, or the star will flag anything in that. You can do this with a star as well. What's going on? Doc. Okay. So the star doesn't care how many forward it goes. Like it can just be like doc.pdf, or it can document one. There are a lot of regular expressions. So they're called regular expressions. There's a lot of different ones that you can use to refine your search for what you're trying to pull up. So sometimes it gets a little scrambled and you just want to clear off your interface. You can do clear. It doesn't like delete anything, but it just cleans everything up if you just want to look at a clean state. So I'm just going to return to print working directory. Other than moving with an absolute or a relative, there's other little things that you can do, such as this. So the // will move up just one directory, print working directory. So you can see now I've moved up out of the U of T coders just into documents. So that's handy when you don't want to keep typing everything. And you can also do cd squiggle tilde, and that will move you back to home. So this is where you started out, if you just get too deep into your directories or whatever. So I'm just going to quickly go back into documents and U of T coders. And now we're going to actually start doing stuff. So I'm going to make a directory. So mkdir for make directory, intro to bash. Okay. And then let's go into it. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Okay, let me delete that. Remove directory here. Intro to bash. We'll delete the folder. Let me spell it properly. Intro to bash. And then cd intro to bash. Okay, so if I ls now, there's nothing in it, right? But we're gonna start making some files. So the first thing you can do is just touch .1.text. So touch is literally just like poking, and you can either reactivate the timestamp, or if you don't have that file yet, it just creates an empty file for it. So if we ls now, we can see that in this folder we have one file called doc1. We didn't put anything in it, so it's just blank. To edit it, most should have nano. So you can do nano. So this is telling it the program I want to launch is nano, and the file that I want to launch in the program is doc1. So if you do that, you should open into an editor. So does everyone successfully open this? Okay. You can use your editor of choice, like Vim, or like even opening it in Notepad if you really wanted to. But here you can just say like, hello world. And it gives you a little bit of a intro about the different commands to kind of navigate within it. So just gonna Control X. Do you want to save changes? Yes. Do you want to call it this? Sure. So now we still have that doc1, but for concatenate, prints out everything within the document. So doc1. Now I can see that within doc1, you have a line that says hello world. Cool. Okay, so now we're gonna make another file. So we're gonna make nano fruits.txt. So in here, we are gonna list different fruits. So I'm gonna pick apple, lemons, pineapple. Okay, and then we're gonna save this.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yep.
How did you exit the editor?
Oh, let me just get back into it. So you can see down here, it's telling you how to exit. So it's Control, not Command. So Control X. Oh, I didn't edit anything, but then you'll have to press yes, I want to save changes. Oh, Enter, and then Enter. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have a slightly more complicated file, if you cat fruits, then you can see the whole output is now put over here. You can also do things like, it's not that necessary for such a short file, but if you do head fruits, and it defaults to I think 6 lines, but if you just wanted 2, then you can specify the number of rows you want to display. And that's more helpful if you have like a really, really big file. Does that make sense? So here, rather than putting a letter for the flag, we're just specifying the number of lines that we want it to print. If we didn't want to work actually within a text file, you can do things like echo. So you can echo what's for dinner. Oh. Did I do that wrong? Why is it going in one of those?
You have a put it once.
Oh, so just do like that. Okay.
If you double click the whole thing.
Okay. Echo. I'm just going to forego the first one. What's for dinner? Like that.
Yes.
So then it will shoot you back the same response. But the more interesting thing is that you can pipe this into a file. So now when I do cat file A, it prints it out. And what you can also do here is you can modify it without actually going back into the file. So echo steaks and potatoes, file A, like that. Then the double arrows will append what you have. So then cat file. Then you can see that it added the new line onto the bottom of it. So this is also really helpful if you have a giant file that you don't want to open the whole file just to add a line at the bottom. Then you can just add it like this.
I think we get caught in like a bit of a loop.
Like-
Seems like most people are typing, so I'm guessing not. But if that happens, you can cancel out with Control C.
Right.
And reset your terminal here.
Which I didn't figure out for a while because it was like quitting all my commands and I'm like, why? Okay. So we can also do searches. So depending on what you put for your fruits, so I'm just gonna cat my fruits file again to see that's what you have. You can use grep, which is finding regular expressions in the text. So if I do like apple in the fruits, then it will tell me that I have 2 lines that have apple in them for the apple and the pineapple. You can also get this to pipe into just a count. So for example, here, it's on top of the enter key on the right side of your keyboard, what we call a pipe, which is just like the straight line there. You can pipe it into the word count and you just want a number. So it'll tell you that you have 2 lines that have the expression that you're searching for in your document. As with like R in Python, you can also store things in objects. So for example, my num equals 24. If you just write my num, you get a command not found because it interprets it as like a function or an object. So what you need to do is echo my num, and then you get what you stored out with the $sign. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. So I thought I would just go into like very basic scripts for how to kind of move around shell as well. So we're gonna make a new file and counting dot. So making a .sh will allow it to be a shell script. So we're gonna start a new document called counting.sh in Nano. And here we're gonna say for I in 1, 2, 3, 4, do. So you're giving it the variable I, and you want I to iterate through 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And what you want to do when it's iterating is echo the value of I is, and then done. So here, the first I, because it doesn't have the string before it, it literally is just printing the letter I. But here, because it has a string before it, it's going to go through each iteration with a different number. Okay? So I'm going to start saving this. Do you have it done? Okay. So writing it to that. So now if we cat counting, you can see that this is what we stored in the file. But if we want to actually execute it, it will go through each of the iterations of the numbers that we asked it to. Did everyone get this going? So you can also go back into counting.
Are you writing out or exit and save?
You actually do either. I think right now actually does save. Yeah. And then just like enter. Yeah, it's just checking.
Okay.
And that's just really pretty honest with you.
So the other thing that you can do here, rather than listing each of them, is if we replace the string of numbers with curly 1 dot dot. Well, here I'll change it up to make sure that we change it as 3 dot dot dot. Wait, dot dot 8. And I think I already have that. So if we change that string of numbers to this, then I'm gonna save it. Bash. Then now I have made it iterate all the numbers between 3 and 8, rather than actually writing out each of the numbers. So I'll just open that just in case. So here, rather than actually listing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I've put this annotation so that it's telling it between 3 to 8 iterated. Okay. So I'm gonna exit this, and then we're gonna start a new one. So we are going to go through. Okay. So, okay, file create. So we're gonna start a new script called file create. And we are going to say for I in ls, maybe dot text. Do touch. let's just do, okay. I and 3. Okay, so we're gonna try that. So for 1 to 3, it should create, so touch, just create a file with image 1, 2, or 3, and then finish. Okay, so I'm gonna exit this. We'll cat file create. So you can see it's going on there, and then bash file create. And it's not gonna look like it did anything, but then if we ls, then you can see image 1, 2, and 3. So this is how you can start to automate some of the tasks, whereas, you know, you could do this by like going to your file manager, right-clicking and making a new file every time, but especially if you need consistency between it, then this is a much better way to do it. And also sometimes just you have to use the interface if you're going to other servers or stuff. This is how you would do it. So guess I went through it quite quickly, but one of the last things I wanted to show was history, because you also want to document what you did. So if you ever forget what you did, you can do history. That will bring up your history. You can use different flags to get more or less of the history if you wanted to, but it will print out your recent lines. And especially if you wanted to, you could do history 30, to also save my 30 lines and go into make a new file, commands, what is it, the 11.txt. So this is piping or saving the last 30 lines of your history into a new text file. So then if you wanted to just cat, or we'll go into nano so it looks different. So now you can see that I have all of the commands. So this is good for like record keeping if you did something and you want to remember how to do it for next time, rather than actually like going back and scrolling between your outputs. You can save your history into a file to go back for next time. Okay. Okay. I feel like I went through that really quickly, but that's all I had. Is there anything else you can think of? Or is there any like specific problems that you guys have encountered that you would like?
Probably any questions?
Yeah.
Go over once more.
In your shell script, you had kind of the second line indented in the loop. Is that something that is necessary, or is that just
Wait, I'll pull up one.
yeah, in your counting file?
Yeah, so for this?
Yeah.
This, like the done line?
Yeah.
I think that just concludes the script so that Bash knows that it's done.
Like the indent is missing.
Oh, I feel like that's convention.
Yeah.
Convention, I think, is actually not for this absolutely.
Oh.
Bash is less concerned about indentation, more separate. If you want to keep them on the same line, which you actually can, it's going to be separated by semicolons, except for after you don't need a semicolon.
So how do we make nested loops then?
I'm sorry?
Like nested loops? If we want like a loop inside a loop?
Ooh. I think you, actually, do you have a better solution?
Actually, I might be wrong. Okay, do you know, is the dumb usually indented? It doesn't work out indented. Yeah.
Like, so this stuff is fine, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you indent with tab or space or whatever.
As long as you're consistent. Even then, Bash is pretty desperate. For nested for loops, what you would do is, so say underneath the first for line, for I, 1 to 3, you would write, say, for, I don't know, J and 4.6, and then colon, and then do again, and then you write whatever else, but then you need 2 dones at the end. Okay. So that's how you nest for loop. set that. By the way, if there aren't other questions, you can also cover CP and MV.
Oh, right. Okay,
Sure.
sure. So then you would put like your command here and then done, and then it would iterate through this using this.
So both dones have to be at the bottom.
So it just knows that it's done the first one?
Well, this is.
Oh, so once it finishes the 4, 5, 6, then it'll move on.
So there's a greater for loop, and then within each step of the for loop, there is a for loop entirely. So, I mean, you could have.
But you mean like
Yeah.
this, right? Okay.
Where
So-
like the central command relies on, say, I and J in some way.
Okay. So I will save this.
Typically, if you're nesting for loops, that's where a good indentation helps.
So 2 that I forgot about. So I'm just gonna list what's in my directory right now. So we have this. So I'm gonna make another directory. I'm gonna call it destination. Okay. So now it's over here. If I thought that my fruits text was really significant and I wanted to make another copy. Oh, shoot, wait. I can do copy fruits into destination like that. So CP is for copy. And if I list what's in the destination directory, you can see that there's a fruit file in there. But one thing that's really useful is if we go back up here and we're copying the fruit into the destination folder, you can use this opportunity to change the name as well. So fruits text. So if you do this, then it'll move whatever in the first file into the second folder under a new name. So now again, if I list under destination, then I have the one that I just moved and then the one I moved and renamed. I'm just gonna cd into the destination folder. So now in here, if I list, I have these 2 objects. You can also use move. Oh, okay. I don't know why I actually CD'd in there. It probably isn't very necessary. But if you wanted to, you can move MV for move. And I'm gonna grab something from the previous folder and move it in. So I'm gonna / image1.png to here. So this will go back 1 folder up, grab that file, and bring it here. I think it's just 1, right? Yeah, it's just 1 dot. That just says bring it here. So now I have that image file here. And move is also really useful when you're trying to rename your files as well, rather than copying it into a new file with a new name and then deleting the first one. Then you can do move within this folder. So I have this move image1. And then I want to move it into a file called new image.png. If I list that now image1 is replaced with new image. And I guess, so the last thing is remove. So you can remove individual files. So I know that's repeated, so I'm gonna remove that file. You can set it up so that it will actually ask you every time, are you sure you wanna remove this? Because it's not as simple as an undo button when you're working with command line, but I don't have that set up on this guy. But you can remove single files like that. And if you do remove star, that would like delete everything. But if you cd up into the beginning and you wanna delete the whole destination folder, then other than remove directory, you can remove recursive to tell it to keep iterating, and then destination. So this would clear everything within destination, but I don't think it would actually delete the folder, right? If you do that, it would recursively keep going over remove to remove everything within the folder. Any questions?
So if you have like a Python script or an R script that you call up in bash to do something, and then there's a return. Is there any way to capture that as a variable and then feed it into the rest of the bash script?
I would, well, speaking from an R person, I start with like, well, I capture a lot of images, so I start with a PDF command so that everything, any image that's made will be fed into another PDF command. But I think you would probably like pipe it in, like maybe run the R script, file name, .r, then pipe it?
Like,
you?
it's already in the bash, so it's like the R script line is in your bash shell, and
Yeah.
it runs it, and it calls it up from your folder, wherever it is. And then once it's done, like it has a CSV, instead of like dumping the CSV where this is, and then reading it again from the disk, is there a way to like pass it directly?
I'd say if it's being written to a file, then no. Unless say it writes the CSV and then to standard out, it says the name of the CSV. So if your script actually uses, I don't know, like write to a file, it just opens a file object and does the writing. But at the very end of it, just outputs that name of that file, then you could pipe that script. I've never actually done this, but I think that should work. You could pipe that script running into your next command. Then suppose uses CSV, but I don't know.
Like, if you just pipe the name of the CSV and then it would essentially read the CSV.
If your script outputs the name of the CSV after writing it, outputs nothing else, then hypothetically you could pipe that into a different command. CSV like less than triple it out. But I didn't actually try it. It seems straightforward enough to test. Okay, that's all I can do. Francis, do you have other ideas?
Seems solid.
As far as RM goes, a really useful flag I find is, I'm really forgetful sometimes, is RM-I, which will actually go, hey, are you sure you want to delete this? Because the amount of times I've deleted things that I shouldn't have, this flag I still
Yeah.
find very useful. So you could try.
So I think, so you can combine flags like this, right? Destination, so this tells me, yeah, I would like to.
This is the folder, so it's checking. It's gonna first ask if you want to see what's in the folder, then it's gonna say, do you want to remove this file?
No, I regret my decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, you can delete that. No, I would keep the folder. So then if I list the destination now, I remove that one. I didn't know that. I think you can set that to the default.
You can. If
Yeah.
you do an alias thing. But
Mm.
generally, like.
So you just type the flag I every time?
Pretty much. It's like reflexive.
That's smart, yeah.
Any other questions? Anything someone's curious about? Like how we do text or what? If not, I guess we could wrap up a bit sooner today. I'll work until 7 or such. How do you want to run them?
Sure, so yeah, watch out for our next events. We also have partnership workshops. You can check those out. I think the next one will be probably in September, October. And you can, if you send in, if you want to receive emails from us, for us to send you any new lessons and any updates, feel free, if you haven't written your email down, feel free to do so. And grab more snacks on your way out, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What's the topic next?
It's intro to Git.
Yeah.
So if you know Git,
Version control.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a version control system, a way of version controlling files, scripts, documents, and whatnot. And it's primarily done through Bash. So if you, and in today's lesson,
Yeah.
you have that Git is essentially an extension, not extension of it, it can be used in the same environment.
Like I think the famous example is like, have you ever written a paper where you're like version 1,
Yeah.
version 2, version 30, version 101? So this will,
It's version final.
yeah. So that's a way of kind of like, like making a strict way of it, and it will keep track of your changes rather than the actual document. So you will always just have paper.doc. So you don't have like a bazillion ones to be like, which version was I working on now?
So Git allows you to track that through time, so you can checkpoint certain states of it, and in a pretty straightforward way, go back to where it was, like back in time and such. Pull changes from that, and which is kind of nice. It's freeing in the sense that you can like go ahead and read text or code
Mhm.
because you know it's still saved within your Git history.